Welcome to Salon Talks. I am Mary Elizabeth Williams, and the new season of The Bear is out, which means so is this guy. He is Ebon Moss-Bachrach. You know him from Girls, from The Dropout, from Andor, and of course, this is why we're here, his mesmerizing performance as cousin Richie on The Bear. Welcome.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
I have seen the first couple of episodes. Love them. It's so far so good.
Okay,
we'll
good.
see where we're going. It's a different thing coming into season 2. We all know where we left you at the end of season 1. Your
Sure.
character went through a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of change, a lot of transformation. Tell me where we find him when we meet him now at season 2.
Well, season 2 begins just like a few days after season 1 ends, so he's really in a similar place. He, lobbied unsuccessfully to keep things as they were, to preserve the legacy and sort of preserve the neighborhood beef joint. And
Birth joint.
Birth joint, yeah, exactly. And he's determined to remain part of the new iteration, the Bear, but I think he doesn't really know exactly where he fits in, and is desperately trying to navigate this change and earn his place.
And I think without saying any details, I can say one of the themes that really appeals to me about this season is we get a little bigger, we see a little more of people's worlds, we see a little more of all these characters, and there's this recurring theme about beginning again, new beginnings, starting over, starting fresh, learning things as an older person, figuring out reinvention. What does that mean for Richie? Because he is finding his place in this new order. And last season we're not really sure what his job even is.
Yeah. Well, I think, we get to a place at the beginning of the first season where, okay, maybe he's willing, faced with the choice of not being able to go there and be a part of it anymore, or change, he's choosing change. But then what is change? How does he change? What is he supposed to change into? How does he go about that? He doesn't even know which direction he's really supposed to walk in. So he starts in his own unusual way trying to educate himself. He's so, he has so many blind spots, I think, and he doesn't even really know how he's supposed to grow. So it's a lot of introspection and a lot of stumbling and fumbling around in the dark, literally. When we find him, he's down in the basement, going through old photos and old memories, and taking inventory.
As is everybody. Everybody is simultaneously reinventing themselves, stumbling and fumbling in the dark, and I just love the chemistry of this cast together. It's such an ensemble of people, these characters all finding their way together. As an actor, it makes me think about, you must be doing this all the time in your career in a different way. It's all about reinvention. It's all about learning new skills. It's all about recreation. That gets harder as we get older. This season is definitely about that, about how do I learn new things when I'm not a kid anymore. What does that look like for you when you're approaching new roles, when you're looking at new opportunities, especially having had this breakthrough, this big breakthrough in your career in your mid-40s?
I've always been, one of the reasons I'm attracted to my job is because of the variety of experiences. I think I get bored fairly easily, and it's nice that every job is quite different from the one I've had before. That was a main attraction to me to acting and to working in this way. I also think in general in my life I love new experiences. I love traveling. I like to be out of my element. I like the feeling of sort of testing my abilities of communication with people if I'm somewhere where I don't speak the language. I don't know, it just makes me feel alive and forces me to use my brain in different ways. And I think perhaps this sort of variety of jobs that I've had and the nature of the life that I've wound up living, I don't know, I'm pretty good at learning new things. And like you say, there are new sets of skills. I didn't really have to learn too much for Richie. I didn't have to learn how to cook because he doesn't really cook. I had to spend some time, like in Chicago, there's so much of him to me is someone who adores their city and feels so much of his identity in his makeup is being like a Chicagoan and a White Sox fan, and and so I didn't really know what that meant, so I had to do research for that. Yeah, how do we stay facile and nimble? I think it's important. I know it's good for the brain, routine, as susceptible as we all are to it, and as comforting as it can be, or just a requisite nature of the job and grinds. Like, routine is definitely something to push up against, I think.
Yeah, and you have to do it consciously. When you talked about travel and being in places where you don't speak the language, you were actually away for 2 months last year in Greece when this show blew up.
Yeah.
It came out of nowhere. I mean, when you started on Girls, it was already in the 3rd season. You start on Andor, that's a known quantity, but this show was different. What was it like for you being away? Were you totally off the grid? Were you getting these little trickles in your group chat that this is a thing?
Yeah, I wasn't totally off the grid, but we didn't really have good internet. Yeah, like there's like a group text of like a bunch of us from the show, and I was checking in how everyone was doing. We're a close group. And so I would go, but I didn't really have great internet at our little house, so I would have to go down to this sort of like cafe or bar, or like coffee shop kind of place. And so I would go down once a day, and I would just get these kind of floods of texts, and they started sort of generally excited, and we did it, and then they started to get kind of serious, like, oh, Ebon, this is actually kind of getting weird and crazy. And then I think it was like maybe about 2 weeks in after the release is when it seemed like I got like maybe a call from an agent or something who was just like, this is like a real big deal. And I don't know, it's incredible. I'm very proud of the show. I loved making it, and make my peace with that there. I'm okay as long as the experience is nice. It's such a hard industry, but then for it to be received like that is nothing I ever expect, but it's certainly sweet.
And this almost fell through the cracks for you, this opportunity.
Yeah, I know. Like I just was kind of moving my family over to London for a job, and I had so many practical things going on in my life. For some reason, it slipped through the cracks, and then my agent, Brian Oskoff, thank God, he reminded me to read this one. He flagged it as something that I'd be loath to miss, yeah. And
then when you did, people, you never know. You're not a prognosticator, but when you read it, did you think this is special?
Yeah, I knew it was special. I mean, the writing was really, really strong and very vivid, and the characters were written very compelling, and just the voice, it was just a really honed, kind of crystallized thing. I could tell that there was a lot of real life put into it. It's rare to read a script that has so much energy just in its sort of draft form.
I like that.
Yeah.
It is. It's an energetic show. You feel that watching it in a way that's almost tiring sometimes, but that's good. What is it like for you as a performer? Because you are up at that pitch a lot, especially you. Richie's up here.
Yeah, Richie's not. We don't live in a very similar energy space, but so it's nice. I get to put on a different sort of suit of clothes, a different, play with a different way of being in the world. I'm fine with the way I am. I don't feel like I need to emulate him too much, but it is nice to get a little bit loud and expressive and volatile, not to censor yourself, to live fully and without being self-conscious in any way. It's fun. He's a fun character to play.
And what's it like coming back to this set now when it is a big deal? The expectations are different. People are looking at this show under a microscope that maybe wasn't there first season. Yeah. You're all returning to it now as kind of big deals. What did it feel like to return to this, and how do you return to it knowing what you're going to be looking at the scrutiny this time around?
I mean, what can you do? Sure that is a quantity, and there is a little bit of white noise there, but the work of making a TV show is so hard to begin with, and requires all your energy. So very quickly that white noise fades, and we're just trying to get through our day and make our day. And for me, I'm just trying to block out cameras and block out lights and block out the fact that it's snowing outside and just be here with my scene partner and just have all of that other stuff fade away. So I'm pretty good at turning down the noise. And it's not like we showed up and all of a sudden everybody's trailer was twice the size. I mean, we had the same crew shooting on the same stage. You know, it was the same. We really just picked up where we left off, and I was grateful for that because I really deeply enjoy making the show and working with the people that I'm lucky enough to work with.
And when you talk about the pleasure of getting to inhabit Richie's world and getting to be in this character who is so different, who is so, in some ways, messy, but also so vibrant and passionate. You've played other characters like that. Evan, I have to tell you, when I Google you, the phrase about your characters that comes up a lot, I'm sure you know. If I say the word, you know, you know what the word is going to be.
I don't know. There's a few words, but
Which one do you think it's going to be?
I mean, I'm not gonna. You tell me.
Is it dirtbag?
Yeah, well, that's one of those.
Is it dirtbag?
Well, there was just this thing in the paper yesterday. Yeah. So I guess there's some of that stuff, and I'm not against that. I like, you know, I'm not the cleanest person myself. I don't mind a little dirtiness. Yeah, I just, I don't like putting anybody in too small of a box. I just find that that's kind of a boring and lazy way to watch stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when I read about things that have been written about your character on Girls, or even on Andor, or on this show, that those kinds of words get used, and yet it seems to me these are these really complicated guys. They're really interesting characters, and they're compelling, and you see why people are drawn to them. Yeah. They're also very charismatic, right? What is it about those guys that appeals to you when you're looking at a script and you're looking at a character? What are you looking for in those roles? Well,
I mean, you want to play somebody complicated, or somebody who's striving in some way, or has some work to do, or someone in some kind of crisis. But I don't know, with the dirtbag stuff, I don't know. Perhaps my face, the geometry of my face is constructed in a certain way that I look like a dirtbag, perhaps. I don't know. I can't think about it too much. It's not useful for me to like wallow or spend too much time thinking about that stuff. I mean, Desi was like a kind of deliciously frustrating character, and I think because of the nature of that show, and it was so talked about and polarizing and frustrating to people, that I think that sort of colored the perception of him. But yeah, I don't know.
And yet, Ebon, I will tell you, I would never think of you as an actor who is typecast or pigeonholed. I was watching The Bear while I was watching The Dropout, and I honestly didn't connect it that you were on both of those shows. And then I saw the trailer for No Hard Feelings and didn't connect it that you were the guy in that trailer. There is something about these roles that you do that I can see you disappearing into where I don't recognize you necessarily from role to role. What is it about those kind? Like, I want to know. I have to ask about No Hard Feelings because I'm so excited about it.
Okay.
Who's that guy?
Well, I mean, he's kind of an entrance into the story. We sort of see through his pain, kind of how it reveals a lot about the character that Jennifer Lawrence plays. And so, you know, through their few scenes at the beginning, we you know, you kind of say like, okay, this is the story that we're in for. This is this is the trajectory of Jennifer's character. So, yeah, I don't know. I want to, like I said before, the variety, you know, I'm happy to just kind of put my head down and disappear into a part that seems like really fun and interesting to me. You know, I get bored easy. I like to keep it different. And I think, I don't know, that's what I think acting is kind of about.
And you came to acting a little later, right? You didn't start out with this dream necessarily your whole life.
No, nothing like that.
So what?
But I did start pretty early.
Yeah,
I mean,
so in college,
in
right?
college, so I guess it was like 18. And then, you know, working kind of, maybe by the time I was 20, 21, something like that. Yeah.
And just something clicked?
Yeah, well, I'm not good at much, so I think in some ways it quickly, weirdly became the most viable career path for me. I was very lucky early on and worked with some really wonderful, supportive people, and because I was going to school in New York, I could take meetings with agents, so I could sort of do the business end of it too, where I would be at some school, I was at, I don't know, Oberlin or something in the middle of nowhere, I wouldn't really have been able to do something like that. So I just was very fortunate to be in, right place, right time in a certain place in my life, and then passionate and into it enough to not completely fuck it up.
I mean, you've not fucked it up for 25 years now in your career, and yet you're at a moment now at age 47 where...
46.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's quite
no,
all right.
I want you to have that year. I want you to have that year, Ebon.
I'll take
age
that year.
46, where you are at the top, you're at the top of your game. A lot of other actors would be concerned about being at that age, and this is unprecedented for you in your career. This is the most success maybe you've had.
Yeah, I think probably that's true. When I say things like that, though, it makes me feel a little bit like I'm discrediting, all these other years where I've been doing, I think, really work that's been so meaningful to me. But yes, I guess from like a public standpoint, I'm probably at the zenith of my, I don't know, I don't know what the word would be, forward-facing or something. There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of light shining on this show, and because of that, me. So I welcome it. I'm not against it as long as I get to keep disappearing into my parts. I don't think it'll be a problem.
No, I think you're okay.
I think so too.
And it, I imagine, opens up more opportunities to do different kinds of weird work. But in the meantime, season 2 of The Bear, it's out now. I'm hoping this means there's going to be a season 3, Ebon.
I don't know. It's definitely nothing's been announced. I hope there's a season 3 as well.
Okay. But, well, from your lips to the gods of original birth. Ebon, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the new season of The Bear.
Thanks so much.